Joining me now for Right versus Left is trade unionist and socialist and other things, Andy McDonald. And back on the show for the second time, political commentator Chloe Dobbs. Thanks, guys. Look, we've seen a judgment this week in the courts where they upheld a decision by Catherine Berbel Singh, I think at her school, the Michaela Community School, I think it's called, where they had to fight a quite ferocious court case to uphold this decision to keep a ban in place on prayer. I think it was a young Muslim lady that took the school to court, £150,000 in taxpayers' money. Was the court right, Andy?
I don't think so. I think it's a bizarre principle to chase after. A classroom at lunchtime is not that much to ask for, a child to go and pray. It just makes them happy. I don't see why, Catherine has decided to die on this hill. She talks about it being a secular school, then pushes "God Save the King" down your throat. That's not very secular of her. I think the logic is completely just bizarre from her. She preaches that we have Christian values, we're a Christian country, but no, we're a secular school, so we can't have any praying. Okay. It just doesn't track for me.
Chloe, would you like to come back on this out-of-touch socialist?
Yes, I definitely would. So I think it's really important to understand the context of this case. And I think Catherine herself is not advocating that you have a prayer ban in every single school. In this case, you had a situation which was really spiralling out of control quite quickly. So first of all, the school, it's just not practical for them to have a prayer room. They don't have enough rooms. I mean, if you want to pay for them to have a load of prayer rooms added on, go for it. This is a school which is now around sort of 50% Muslim pupils. So they would probably need multiple prayer rooms, which is one thing that the head teacher said. So what happened is you didn't have any kids praying at the school before. And then suddenly one student decided to start praying in the playground. And then it sort of became a trend and they all started following. And then you had, because the playground members of the public can see, you had members of the public getting involved, signing this petition, sending threats toward teachers. And this all started spiraling out of control. You had bomb threats, you had homes of the teachers being, people coming there to attack them. Something had to be done. You also had, this is a school with lots of different faiths and they're very clear with the parents, you need to make compromises so we can all get along. Yeah. But you then had, for example, you have some Muslim kids who want to fast during Ramadan and others which don't. And you had the kids which are fasting, bullying the other kids, trying to stop them eating their food, trying to impose their rules on others. And so something clearly needed to be done to cap this. And so I think the prayer ban on practicality here made sense. Now, it's not just Muslims in the school that have to make compromises. First of all, the head teacher meets every single parent before they come in and is very, very clear, this is what you're signing up for. There's no prayer room here. You have to make compromises. She has had complaints from Christians about there being revision sessions on Sundays, but she said you have to make a compromise. She's had complaints from Hindus about there being eggs in the kitchen that potentially touch the plate, but she said, no, if you want to come to this school, you have to compromise so we can all get along. So it's not like this is an anti-Muslim, and she's been very, very clear about
Andy,
that.
I mean, Chloe's making a reasonable argument here. These parents know the rules when they send their kids to the school. Should they stick to the rules?
I mean, clearly, the Britain's strictest head teacher is what she likes to call herself. But if kids are bullying each other at their school, it's not very strict of her, is it? She's clearly not that great.
She's doing something about it and taking
she's saying,
action.
it's
not
just
like
happening. If it's
no
had to go
problem
to
is
court,
ever going to crop up at a school where you've got misbehaviour, even if they're strict, is how you respond to that.
Sure, so you just take kids to court.
But Andy, should the children be dictating to the headmistress and the management of school how they run their school?
Well, I think it's just bizarre, really. If a kid wants to pray, let them pray. It's not that deep.
But this was causing absolute chaos with the members of the public seeing.
Give them a classroom at lunchtime, then. You don't need a dedicated prayer space. Just give them a classroom. It's just a bit of respect from her. She preaches, British values. Respect is one of those values. I just don't understand why she won't just do it. Michaela Community School has a range of other problems that I think she needs to deal with first. I think this is a very bizarre hill to die on. Just give them a classroom. It's not that hard.
I mean, I don't know exactly the dynamic at the school, but she's been very clear they don't have space for a prayer room. Now, this is a very high-performing school, very strict school. I would imagine they have a lot of revision sessions going on at lunchtimes.
Well, no, they all sit together at lunchtime. They all sit together at lunchtime. All the years sit together. So, no, they don't.
Where? In the lunch hall?
Yeah, in the lunch hall. They don't have any lunchtime revision sessions. That's one of their policies to increase cohesion between the year groups.
Okay, so I mean, maybe that's possible, but I do see this being a slippery slope to it spiralling out of control. So for example, if you've then got kids saying, I need to pray at this time, so I'm going to walk out the classroom whilst the teacher's trying to deliver a lesson to go and pray, and then that teacher feels the need to, say, either catch up those kids and work overtime because kids have walked out the classroom, or have their students failing, which, the school that's trying to get amazing results.
There's an important thing here, Andy, for me. When I
spiralling.
was at school back in the day, before you were born, school was one of the times where you felt equal with your peers. You went to school, you did the same lessons, you played at the same time. If you did any praying, it was normally in the morning, in assembly time. You sang a few hymns and stuff like that. We're all together. We've got different faiths in school now, and I would imagine that when these children go home, life is a little bit different to being at school. But school should be a place where you come together and actually just go and learn how to read and write and develop yourself, rather than getting embroiled in these bitter disputes.
Sure, I agree. That's why I don't know why she's putting so much resistance on just offering a classroom. It's not a slippery slope.
But it's divisive. It's divisive.
It's people praying.
It's divisive.
How's it
School
divisive?
is not a place of worship, right?
Then why does she have them sing "God Save the King" every morning? That's objectively worshipful. God save the King. You're asking God to do something.
I would disagree with that. I would say that is slightly hypocritical. I don't think that is necessary. I think if you go to a school which is a Christian school, like my sixth form was Methodist, and we had chapel for 20 minutes on a Thursday. I'm not religious, but I was like, okay, sure, I've signed up to go to this school, fine. But in that case, fine, I will disagree with that. But nevertheless, I think the prayer ban makes sense. Also, I do think that this is potentially the case of a salty student, because apparently the girl who has brought this case is a girl who was expelled.
Well, they do throw out quite a lot of children that don't perform to their academic standards. So,
well, exactly.
We do wonder how they get their academic grades so high.
You would be angry and salty and wanting revenge.
Well,
there have
been some very serious allegations of them having a mass off-rolling effort at Michaela Community School to maintain that they're high standards. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's a lot of students who feel pretty hard done by the fact that a lot of them have alleged that they were illegally off-rolled. So if I was illegally off-rolled, it's when schools remove a child from their role for academic or send purposes. There have been some pretty firm allegations about Michaela Community School. I think Catherine Barbelsing, instead of going around the media dancing, she should go and deal with that issue before.
Okay, guys. Look, £150,000 to fight this court case—that's taxpayers' money, Chloe. Should this family now, who's took this case to court, be made to pay that money back to the state?
I think that's a difficult one because, on the one hand, I don't agree with this people bringing the case, but also you don't want to live in a world where, if you do need legal help and you do feel like you have a legal case that needs to be brought, that if you're not rich and you can't afford crazy legal fees, that there's nothing that can be done. Yeah. So I think that's difficult. It is a lot of money, and I think that is a waste of money to some degree. But I do think that I don't think we should abolish legal aid. Yeah,
I think that money though, Andy, would have been better spent on the pupils at that school, helping them with their education, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm sure, 150 grand, that's almost 2 years of your MP salary, isn't it, Lee? So, we could have got you for another 2 years for that. But,
it's also almost 2 years income tax I pay, Andy.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure with,
what
is it the 50 or 100 grand you get from GBNews plus your MP salary, and, it gets a bit fuzzy.
Well, once you grow up one day, you might earn that.
It does get a bit fuzzy, Lee, with all your salaries. But the point being, we shouldn't abolish legal aid. If you lose a case, we shouldn't set a precedent that you have to give the money back. Yeah. I think, that is a slippery slope there. Where people who are genuinely...
Let me put this question to you. Right? None of you've got children, right? And I suppose one day you'll have children. Unfortunately, Andrew, you're going to find somebody you settle down with and you're going to have children. And you've got 2 schools there. One's a strict school run by Catherine Barbelsing, where you have to turn up on time, you have to wear uniforms, you have to call teachers Miss and Sir. There is strict discipline and you have to do your homework and blah, blah, blah. Then you've got another school, like one in my community, well, it was back in the day, where you can call the teachers by their first names. There's no detention, there's no discipline, there's no uniform. You turn up when you want. You can go and have a crafty fag behind the bike shed when you want. Which school would you send your children to?
I think it depends on how my child is at the point when they're about to go to school. Yeah. So my upbringing, I hate authority. My parents were completely hands off. So when a teacher tells me what to do and says, you can't do this, you can't do that, I'm like, bugger off, because I'm just so not used to that. And for me, my parents leaving it up to me to decide the rule for myself made me much more mature, I think. But then there are other kids where I can see they really need some discipline. Yeah. So if my kid clearly seems like, they're going to go on and they're going to do their homework without even being told and without the threat of detention, then they can go to the more libertarian school, as we might say.
Okay,
whereas if my kid's not performing, they're off to strict school.
For your children?
Neither. I want them to learn a trade, learn a proper skill. I think we need a genuine alternative for people who are non-academic, honestly. I'd prefer them to do that.